European leaders have rejected changes to international borders through the use of force, saying this would only reward Russian aggression. In a joint statement, 6 countries and the European Commission said they welcomed President Trump's initiative, but they said the path to peace cannot be decided without Ukraine, and that meaningful negotiations can only take place following a ceasefire or reduction of hostilities. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said he fully supports the joint statement.
Today has been an active diplomatic day. Since this morning, I've been coordinating with our partners Britain, France, Finland, Estonia, Denmark and Spain. I thank them all for their clear support. There must be a just end to the war, and it is up to Russia to do so. It is Russia that must end the war it started.
For more, let's cross over to DW correspondent Christine Mhundwa in Brussels. So European leaders, Christine, have issued a statement in support of Ukraine. What kind of signal do they intend to send to Washington and Moscow?
That's right, Michael. And that statement we received late into the night, Saturday going into Sunday. It comes after representatives from France, Germany, Poland, Italy, Finland, the United Kingdom, and of course, a representative from the EU Commission had met. And the message they want to send is that there cannot be any solution about Ukraine without Ukraine being at the table. The fear on the part of the European leaders is that Ukraine is again being excluded from crucial talks where Ukraine should actually be represented. There is also European security interests in this conversation as well. And part of that statement reads that while we share that a diplomatic solution must protect Ukraine's and Europe's vital security interest, what is meant by that is that there needs to be robust and credible security guarantees for Ukraine in this. This has been a long-standing call on the part of European leaders that any ceasefire must come with security guarantees for Ukraine. In short, that means it must come with some level of assertion from the United States that they would come in to support if Russia were to threaten another invasion when a ceasefire has been reached. This is something that the Europeans with the United Kingdom have been pressing for the Ukrainians to do. In the UK, they call it a backstop, that the Americans provide this backstop to be able to get in the event that Russia threatens another invasion.
According to media reports, European and Ukrainian officials have presented Washington with a counter-proposal to Russia's ceasefire plan. What more can you tell us? Yeah,
so the officials are not confirming this, but there have been, as you rightly quote, some people being quoted unofficially in media outlets. What the Europeans are putting forward is supposedly a proposal that says nothing in terms of developments, swapping territories should be done until there is a ceasefire. And this would really confirm or is consistent with what has been the long call from European leaders, that there must be a ceasefire, that no other processes should take place in terms of discussing the swapping of territory, as was touted by the President of the United States, that none of this should happen before there is a ceasefire. And again, I'll say this has been consistent with what European leaders have been calling for, even a temporary ceasefire, to get talks happening at the table. Again, we've had no confirmation of that officially, but it would be consistent with what European leaders have been calling for.
Christine, as you well know, for months, European leaders labored to bring Donald Trump around to their position on Ukraine. But as it looks now, the EU won't participate in that Trump-Putin meeting in Alaska. How likely is it Europe will be left out of peace talks altogether?
Well, Michael, there is that real threat, and it's not the first time we're at this point where the Europeans are fighting for a place in this conversation, for a seat at that table, so to say. In February already, when there was talks being touted between the presidents of the United States and Russia, already the Europeans were being sidelined. Now, the Europeans do welcome the Trump administration putting the U.S. leadership forward in all of this. It is the aspect of being sidelined that concerns them. Of course, Europe has a big stake in this conflict. It and the United Kingdom and other G7 countries have been very big supporters, not only militarily for Ukraine, but also in keeping the country running in the 3-year duration of this war. I'm talking about government services and other support. And of course, the number of Ukrainian refugees that happen to be in Europe at the moment. So Europe has been vying for the United States to recognize it as a constructive and helpful partner in the negotiations. There has been that reluctance from the part of the U.S. administration, but they will continue to push for that because they also believe that they're firmly supporting the Ukrainian position as well.
Got it. That's a DW correspondent Christine Mhundwa in Brussels. Many thanks.